All right, turning now to those tariffs we were talking about, those new tariffs, they've been in place now for a few hours. Nearly every country in the world facing higher levels of tariffs. Now, India's tariffs, just before midnight, the president raised those from 25 to 50% with that country as a punishment of sorts for buying oil from Russia. And President Trump now already promising another round of tariffs to come. That includes a new 100% tariff on semiconductors and chips coming into the U.S. unless the company involved has made a commitment to relocate and produce chips here in this country. This is something we've been talking about, Stacey, for quite some time because this has been delayed a couple of times now, but they actually are now in effect.
And Apple is one of those companies that is getting a break because it has promised and has started to plan to build stateside, although people say it's going to be tough to put iPhones in production here and keep the price low. So all of that has yet to play out. Joining us now, though, is Abby Hall Blanco. She is an associate professor of economics at Tampa, and we appreciate you being here. What we're really curious about, we've talked about these tariffs for so long now, you almost begin to tune it out, but they've actually taken effect. How soon do you think the consumer will see the ripple down?
So I know that for a lot of folks, we've been talking about tariffs, it seems like, until we're blue in the face. And for a lot of people, they may have not observed any kinds of changes yet. And the reality is that for some goods, these tariffs might appear relatively quickly, and for others, it may take some time. Other goods are exempt. So, for example, all of the produce that we buy from Mexico under the North American Free Trade Agreement, or NAFTA, is all exempted from this current round of tariffs. When you'll start to see these prices rise will depend on things like how quickly firms who might have bought up inventory burn through that inventory, and also what types of goods and services that you are buying. People might also see price increases in some unexpected places for things like homeowners or car insurance as a direct result of these tariffs that might not necessarily link for a lot of people.
I know this is confusing for most consumers because not only are they trying to figure out which country has which tariff, but the levels are all across the board here. Are there specific items that consumers are going to notice this impacting the most?
So certainly things are going to increase in prices. So one of the things that I teach my students every semester when we talk about international trade is that tariffs are taxes. They're just a specific type of tax on foreign goods. And so for any good that we are purchasing abroad that is subjected to these tariffs, anticipate that they're going to be more expensive. So if you want to take India, for example, that manufactures a lot of textiles, things like clothing might get a lot more expensive. Or if you are going out to eat at, say, an Indian restaurant that imports most of its ingredients, you're going to anticipate seeing those prices rise and potentially relatively quickly. Other areas where you might see this too would be in things like new home construction, but again, also for things like cars or other types of large items that use imported materials like steel.
Abby, also, NBC News is reporting the average American family in 2025, and we're already halfway through the year, more than halfway, will see an increase in their cost of everything, about $2,400 worth. That's a pretty big number for a lot of people who are already struggling to afford groceries and things like that. Is there any advice that you have?
It's fundamentally a really difficult position for a lot of consumers. So oftentimes when we hear about things like tariffs, there is this idea that another country, so China or Russia or whoever the tariff is imposed on, is going to be the one that's going to eat the cost of that tariff. But that's simply not the case. Tariffs get passed on to consumers. And so for consumers, I think that a lot of us, myself included, it's going to be tough to navigate to try to figure out how to escape these tariffs. But ultimately, people are going to have to make adjustments.
And this is, as you mentioned, politics. This is very political in terms of which countries are facing which tariffs. Do you anticipate that some of these countries now that are facing these tariffs now in effect are going to come to the table to try to make a deal quickly to turn this in a different direction?
Well, one of the things that we've seen over the last 4 months is when we think that tariff policy is set, it is definitely not set. So right now we see that we're within a 90-day pause with the Chinese government currently holding tariffs at 30%. There's a similar pause going on between the United States and Mexico. And so I imagine that for some countries, they will want to try to negotiate. Again, take India as an example. The U.S. is India's largest importer. 50% tariffs hurt India's economy significantly, just like it hurts U.S. consumers of Indian products significantly. But that doesn't necessarily mean that countries or other governments won't come up with creative ways to try to avoid tariffs. So the Chinese government, for instance, as opposed to moving production to the U.S., might instead try to move production to countries like Vietnam or Thailand, which have lower tariff rates.
Boy, very interesting. It reminds me of Ferris Bueller's Day Off, blank. DOO, voodoo economics. But I'm not saying this is voodoo economics, but I'm laughing that economics has been front and center from the start of the year. So I'm guessing your class is one where kids are really paying attention these days. We appreciate you so much. Abby Hall Blanco from U Tampa, thank you so much for joining us today.
Always a pleasure. Thanks for having me.